All right, for example 5, it says find the quartiles of the tire pressures of the cars at the auto clinic. So this is kind of new. You saw it in vocabulary, but now we're going to actually see it in action. So before we go too far, I want to kind of walk through my 4 quartiles so we know how to identify them, and then we'll go ahead and identify them. So your starting place is always going to be with quartile 2. And the way that I like to explain quartiles is it's kind of all about the median. Quartile 2 is the same as the median. Whereas quartile 1 is the median of the lower values. And that'll make sense in just a second as we go through this example. Quartile 3, if you could guess, is the median of the upper values. And then quartile 4 is simply your top value. Now most of these questions, we're only going to be dealing with quartiles 1 through 3, but you need to be able to identify the fourth quartile. So I said it's all about the medians. So let's go ahead and put these, it looks like they're already in order. We see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So that's kind of nice right now anyway, because the first thing, remember I said to always start with quartile 2, which is the median. So with 9 values, that means with 4 on each side, the median here, or quartile 2, is going to be 31. Now I said that next, the quartile 1 is the median of the lower values. So here's my median. This way is lower, and this way is my upper values. So it's saying that it's the median or middle of these lower values. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lower values. So I do have an even number, which means that I'm going to have to find the mean of the median. So I'm going to add 17 and 21 together, and I get 38. I divide that by 2, and I find out that quartile 1 is 19. Now, quartile 3 is the median of the upper value, so it also has 1, 2, 3, 4. But here we got a little lucky because both middle values of the upper values are the same. So 32 is my quartile 3. And then quartile 4, as I said, is your upper value. So it is 34. All right, for check your understanding, it says what percent of the numbers in the data set are above quartile 3? Okay? So when you think of quartiles, you hear the word quarter in there. So that means that 25% of the data falls with quartile 1, 25% of the data falls with quartile 2, 25% of the data with quartile 3, and 25% of the data with quartile 4. And in the future, we're going to use a box and whisker plot, which really shows that much better than what we're doing right now. But it says what of the values are above quartile 3. So above meaning higher than. So looking at this, 25% of the values are above quartile 3. All right, example 6. What is the difference between quartile 1 and quartile 3 from the data? So let's kind of just recap here. Quartile 1 was 19. Quartile 2 was 31. Quartile 3 was 32. and quartile 4 was 34. And it's saying, find the difference. Well, difference means subtraction. So I'm going to take quartile 3, which is 32, and I'm going to subtract 19. And when I get that, I get 13 as my difference between quartile 3 and quartile 1. And it says find the interquartile range for the data from example 3. So what I failed to mention here is the reason that we were finding the difference between quartile 3 and quartile 1 is this is the interquartile range. So here, that interquartile range is 13. So let's go back to example 3, and I'm going to have you find the interquartile range of this data. Please press pause, take a second to do that. When you're ready, press play, and we'll go through it. All right, so here we are back at example 3, and we're to find the interquartile range. Well, we already found the median, and the median was 7,750. And if you'll remember, we always start with the median because that is quartile 2. So anything lower than 7,750 is part of the lower values, and anything higher than 7,750 is part of the upper values. So our break happens right here, and this is a little different than the one that we went through. We had to find the mean of the median, so we found the middle, but now we've got 3 values on the left, 3 values on the right, which is kind of nice because it makes it really easy for us to identify then the middle of the lower values, which is 6,700, the middle of the upper values, which is 8,650, and that identifies quartile 1 and quartile 3. Remembering that quartile 3 minus quartile 1 gives us our interquartile range, and I'm just going to hyphenate it down to IQR. So in this case, it's going to be 8,650 minus 6,700, and let's see what we get on the calculator when we do that. So we've got 8,650 minus 6,700. So my interquartile range of this value is 1,950. Good job, everyone.